Today we are talking about the lost child. Who are lost children and what effects follow them into adulthood? Hi everyone, I'm Sarah from Trauma Recovery Coaching. I am a certified coach specializing in abuse recovery from narcissistic, sociopathic, and psychopathic abuse. A lost child in a toxic family system is quite different from the typical roles in dysfunctional families. The lost child role isn't loud, in the spotlight, the family punching bag, or the fall person for familial issues. The lost child is what it sounds like. They are the lost child, the forgotten child, the child who stays away from the family conflict and hides from any parental attention. The narcissistic or toxic parent doesn't see the lost child as a form of supply or as a threat. Lost children are typically the middle child. But there are all different combinations where the narcissistic parent has the lost child assigned as the first child or even as their last child. The lost child keeps to themselves to avoid all drama, emotional, and physical conflict. They are experiencing a lot of neglect, which causes many detrimental effects that cause problems later in their lives. Let's talk about the 5 main issues lost children face through their upbringing clear up until adulthood. Number 1, poor communication skills. Lost children are forced to hide in their rooms, stay at friends' homes, and maybe even stay outside or around the town to avoid the narcissistic parent's wrath. This early childhood programming sets up lost children to feel like they have no other choice other than to be alone. Lost children do feel numb, powerless, angry, and alone when they're growing up. They learn to stay quiet and to be not seen and not heard. Lost children wanted peace in the toxic environment they were raised in, so this often results in them becoming loners or they have very few friends. The result is often that lost children suffer with social anxiety and are often not sure who is safe to communicate with and who is not. Number 2, difficulties with intimacy and relationships. It is hard for the lost child to connect with anyone because they are used to being alone. Even if the lost child wants connection, it is hard for them to get the courage to start or continue relationships because they are so used to isolation and they were programmed to only exist instead of having a life where they had freedom of choice. The lack of care and love growing up affects the lost child's ability to trust in this area. It is difficult to trust when they have witnessed so much abuse and dysfunction from the people who were supposed to love them the most. It is often hard for lost children to openly express their emotions because they also fear rejection. Number 3, low self-esteem and self-worth. The lost child was not praised or cherished like the golden child, but not critically blamed like the scapegoat. Although the scapegoat and lost child are more alike and can have overlapping similarities with the long-term effects of abuse, especially when there are only 2 children in the narcissistic family dynamic, the scapegoat may take on the lost child's roles as well as taking the scapegoat role. The lost child is different because they did not get attention at all. The scapegoat received negative attention and heavy responsibilities, and in many lost children's eyes, that is still attention that they craved and did not get. As a result of never having attention or affection from their parents, a lost child does not feel like they have worth and that something must be wrong with them, when in reality it's simply that the parents are the issue here. Number 4, they deny their feelings. Lost children were taught that their feelings didn't matter by their parents. Narcissistic parents typically do not ask their lost child how their day was, if they need help with their homework, or if they just need to talk. The constant emotional neglect from parents does leave the lost child to sit and think that their emotions couldn't possibly matter. They do compare their experiences and situations to their siblings, and they know that there is a big difference with how they are treated. Number 5, they feel guilt for not being able to make their parents happy. Lost children see the golden child or other people making the narcissistic parent happy, or at least look happy. The lost child typically spends their time fantasizing and daydreaming in isolation. They may fantasize that their parents view them in a more positive light, or at least give them more attention. They may even have their own ideal family structure mapped out in their head as well. A lot of lost children feel guilt that they've never seen their parents praise them, that the smile the parents show to the golden child is never directed at the lost child. This makes the lost child feel like they're not good enough and will never be enough to please the narcissistic parent's high standards. Feeling this type of guilt can lead the lost child into overexerting themselves into other forms of relationships in their future, like in friendships or even romantic relationships. If any of this video has resonated with you, please leave a comment down below. Thank you for listening.